half guard pass, pressure half guard pass, staying really tight, and then going side control into the mount, and then attacking just a basic head and arm choke. I really like this form of attacking because it's really tight, no space. Great for sport, self-defense, MMA, all that stuff. Now, it's gi and no gi. The gi, of course, you have a little bit more grips to grab. No gi, you do not. And I find in no gi, like passing loose is difficult. So being able to attach yourself to the person and mold your way through the guard is always going to be crucial and essential. And honestly, it's energy saving. You know, trying to stand and pass on your feet, it takes athleticism, balance, everything. I love to pass on the feet because I'm athletic myself, but I find that when I get completely gassed out, I stop passing on my feet and I start passing on my knees and pressure and taking your time, you know. So watch here, I have Nicole laying on her back. And we're gonna start like, let's move on down here so we're in the camera. Here's good. Back right here. So, sorry, I'm a little sweaty. So we're in the half guard, and a lot of times, maybe we got to the half guard because maybe we were in the mount and she did an elbow escape, or I'm trying to pass this guard and I'm exhausted and I'm just like, man, I don't want to stand and pass, so I kind of just force this like half guard kind of scenario. So when I'm in the half guard, I find a lot of times if you just focus on trying to hug the hips and not trying to climb the body to hug the upper body, that people redirect your head and push you around, and you have a hard time passing. There's a lot of disconnection. But the sooner I can get past, pin the hips, get past the hips and start to hug the upper body, the harder it's going to be for your opponent to disrupt your balance and to sweep you and to get out of the movement. So I want to get my upper body connection here. Now, when I get my upper body connection, like it's important that you have the fine details. Like I'm not shallow at all with my arm underneath here. I'm trying to be really deep, so there's a flush connection with my shoulder and her chin. Okay. Now, this one I'm going to go with the gable grip. You can always, like, depending on the scenario, modify it where you have one hand in. But this one I'm going straight with the gable grip. I'm just looking to get upper body control, keep my grip here, and just make my body work. Now, what's going to happen here, keep my leg nice and tight here. So I'm going to show you from a couple different angles. So what I'm going to do is called the wedge pass. I need to get my back toes here that I'm wiggling to get my toes inside. Sometimes I can just whip my toes and I have this little like butterfly hook, and I'll show you from another angle in just a second. But sometimes you can't get your toes in, so I kind of lean the body and then I place my hook in. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is when I keep this, I keep my head really low because I don't want her to move my body around. I'm going to start to TP my body up, bring my knee into Panama, my knee to the ground, I step out, and then I slide as I pass through. Right away, like I always use my hip to walk back into her hips. There's always a constant connection. As I go to put my knee up onto the body, a lot of people mistake basic mount entries by keeping this leg that I'm wiggling here. They stay on their knees. And when I'm on my knees and I put my knee on the stomach, there's a lot of space. When I stretch my leg out and I run close, I'm very connected. Now, I need to isolate this arm, but it's just walking is difficult. So keep your arm a little tense. If I just try to walk, like I can't even walk Nicole's arm, but as I connect to the ground, or I keep my gable grip and keep a little strong arm, as I bring my shoulder into it, that's when I can walk more. As you see, I grab the armpit, I start to walk this arm up. My chin keeps the arm, and I make little adjustments. A head and arm choke is an arm triangle where my shoulder is going to block one artery off on the opposite side here, and then her shoulder is going to block her other artery off. Okay, so I don't like to, or I don't want to skip ahead. So as I keep my grip here, I like to cup the armpit or keep a gable grip. Depends on the person, how big they are, how small they are. If I feel pretty good control, I'll go with a one arm grip. If I feel they're really strong, I'll keep everything in. I'm using my neck here to parallel right with her shoulder. What I'm going to do now is as I widen my knee out, it kind of stretches her body, and then my other leg kind of windshield wipers over. When I lay flat here, I bring the last leg up, I keep my head down low, and it's not just a squeeze, but I'm kind of like shrugging my shoulders up and driving my neck more into her own neck as I squeeze and I get my tap. I don't like a rear naked choke grip. I find it's still effective. I just find for the smaller people that when I rear naked choke, I neck crank a lot, and I actually don't do a proper choke, especially like somebody like Nicole who's much smaller than me, and she doesn't have really big shoulders, like a 200-pound man. So the more I rear naked choke, the more I get away from that center point of where I want my pressure, and the more it's effective for her to get out. Now, I found that much bigger guys can still get the choke with this because they have big chests, they have big bodies, they have stronger arms, but as a little guy, I find that to be very ineffective. So I like to stay extremely low as I get my squeeze, and we put her to sleep. So I'm gonna show you from this angle here. I'm gonna switch the angle here. She has my legs wrapped. I get my upper body control. You have to have the upper body control here. What I'm gonna do here, keep your knee down. Yeah, so see, like I can't put my wedge in. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. And if you can't, it all depends on your flexibility. So if you don't have much flexibility, like you can't do this. To buy some flexibility, guys, is if I try to move slow, look, this is as high as I can bring my foot. My foot doesn't even come into her knee. But if I whip, see how like I can get up there? Because what's happening is like my hamstring is given in the way. So if you do a lot of squats, you can't put your leg in, you know, if you have big legs. But if you bend your legs quick, it kind of whips it up. Now, once I keep this wedge, I keep my body low, I teeth me up, and bring my knee through. I'm knee cut passing. Once my knee comes through, I step out, I slide my hip, and then now once I slide out, I need to connect with her hip. So I use my own hip to kind of like keep her from tucking her leg back in to recover the guard. Now watch this constant connection. I turn, and my knee is always connected to her hip. There's something always needs to connect to this hip. So as I connect this hip, look, if I get into my knees and I put my knee on the belly, there's a lot of space. And Nicole can tell I'm way off of it. Once I lay down, I'm much heavier. As I slide, now I need to stretch this arm up. Remember, keep your arm strong, please. I don't use my hand, I use my shoulder and then my arm, okay? What's happening is now her arm's coming up like this, and she's gonna bring her elbow up for comfortability of her own flexibility, her own shoulder. It doesn't feel really good. So the more that your opponent does like upper body workouts, bench presses, shoulder stuff, the tighter their shoulder is, the easier it actually is to get your choke. I place my shoulder to the side. Notice I never actually entered the mount. As you see my foot, like I never actually go to the mount, because when I go to the mount, like an elbow escape and I lose a position. So I keep my foot just like so. I'm gonna get my gable grip, and I watch this little whip as I stretch out. I make that little leg switch, so she never connects with my leg, can never do an elbow escape. I kind of disengage, lay down, shrug my shoulders up, gentle squeeze, and I find a choke. Now when I squeeze, I like to, the arm that goes around the neck, that arm goes palm down, and I gable grip, okay? The reason why that arm goes palm down is this little ratchet that you see here. This actually closes that space off just a little bit more, which helps me just, you know, really get a tight squeeze around my opponent's neck, okay? If the choke, now one thing I've always been told with chokes, keep in mind guys, especially training in the academy and with your friends, if you are squeezing, if you squeeze for 10 seconds, one of two things is gonna happen. Either A, they went to sleep, they passed out, you need to wake them up. Or B, you're not choking them, and the more you keep squeezing, the more you're just gonna kind of piss off your own training partner. So I recommend two options. Either A, you need to adjust whilst trying to stay as tight as possible, or B, you need to transition to another form of attack. So I'm gonna give you another option here. As I have Nicole lay her head down right here and her feet down right here. Let's spin, let's come a little bit further this way so everybody can see. As I'm in my head and arm choke, lift your head for me, don't get some hair. Maybe I'm squeezing my choke and I'm just like, I can't get this choke, man. I'm having a hard time, I can't find the choke sensitivity. So I can do a couple things. I can either A, kind of loosen up and allow her to maybe try to roll away, or I can take her back, or if it's in the gi, some Ezekiel's and stuff like that. But sometimes they're still not moving. They don't want to move because they know they're in danger. They don't want to, they're controlling the breathing, and they don't want to expose anything to make the move actually tighter, so they kind of just freeze up a little bit. So keep your arms a little bit tense, like you're kind of trying to widen out your choke there. Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I bring my knee up, I post my foot, I lift, and then watch, I make this little connection. You see this connection here? I'm switching from a gable grip to like a seatbelt kind of grip, and I'm going to transition through. Now I have her back with my proper seatbelt, and then I can worry about bringing her up, looking for other attacks. So I like to use that one a lot. Especially again, like, you know, that's catered towards like the smaller people. The smaller people with that gable grip, you can post, bring them up, make a little transition. I find people with smaller necks, when you're trying to attack them, it's much more difficult to get the head and arm choke rather than people with really big necks. No, it's not impossible, it's just difficult. But what you have to keep in mind is, like, you know, for example, a few of my students have expressed, they're like, oh, you know, I'm having trouble getting a head and arm choke. Like Nicole was telling us to me, she's like, she can get the setup pretty well, but she has trouble getting the clean finish, if it's a proper choke or not. And that just comes from time. You know, when you first, imagine the first time you did a cross choke, like we crushed everybody's trachea. We were just like widening the elbows, we're doing everything all wrong, and then just over time of training, you start to build this sensitivity of what the choke properly feels like, and knowing where the arteries are at, and how I can apply my proper pressure. And then over time, you start to develop that and get your submissions, you know. So, and that's with every submission. Every submission has a submission awareness, submission sensitivity thing, you know. So I hope this helped, guys. I'm gonna show one last time, just kind of run through it at just like kind of a normal pace, like stage 2 learning. I'm gonna have Nicole kind of just resist us a little bit, and then I'm just gonna go all the way through it. Again, this one's great for not only self-defense and MMA, but it's also great for sport as well. It's one of my favorite, just pressure and just grind your opponent out. So watch here one more time. Sorry, Nicole. So I have her laying down, and we're gonna go like right here. This is actually fine right here. So I have the half guard. I get by. I get to my cross side control, and we're gonna start here. She's gonna give a little bit of resistance. So, hope you guys like. I'll give you guys much more content. Sorry I haven't posted in a while. It's been a long time. But, man, 11 minutes. I think I made up for that couple months of not posting things. Thank you guys for this.